Alright, so we have succeeded in creating our first web page. Okay, we added Hello Africa to the body, and this is what it looks like. Now I'm going to show you some of the code that we used in the previous discussion. So let's navigate back to our folder, days 100 days in IT, or 100 days IT challenge. As you can see, within the dev folder, there is a new demo folder which I added. This demo folder, you can also view it on here. It has a few files. Okay, so let's dive in and expand this to begin with. First, let's start with the structure. Within the structure, we do remember that we have the doctype, which is the beginning or preamble of our HTML document. The root tag makes sure that it encloses everything. There cannot be any content after the HTML tag at the end, which ends with a forward slash. And the opening tag has no forward slash. Within that HTML element, the structure contains two sections, the head and the body. You can expand and collapse your code using these arrows right after the number. So in the head section, we have the title, which is the most important. The rest of it is metadata, which is useful if you're going to augment your website for search engine optimization. The body tag, it is also very useful for search engine optimization to separate your body into three different parts. The header, which takes in stuff like navigation. You can have a group of headings on there, and other stuff like call to action if you need a button for someone to donate or to click to go to a particular part on your website, and your menu items as well. So all of that goes into the header section. The main section is where the full content of your web page goes to. So in the main section, you have, or in the main section per se, you have a section that can hold one or more articles. Think about a newspaper, okay? So before you have an article, you need a heading for your article. So each section starts with a heading and an article that holds it. You can have multiple articles in the sports section, politics section, health section, science section, and so on. All right. Remember also for search engine optimization, you can have multiple H2, H3, H4, and so on, all the different headings, but it's only useful to have one H1. Okay. So with one H1, which we did use here, your search engine optimization score is going to be higher. So those are a few tips and tricks that you need to remember. So within our section, we have multiple elements or multiple articles. We can collapse the articles, collapse this heading, and also collapse the section. The third part of your body is the footer. The footer includes stuff like copyright information, terms for agreement, and also maybe related links or important links that you need. Okay. One other thing I need to point out in HTML is not every code gets displayed on your screen. If you want code to be ignored by your browser, you can use something known as a comment. To set the code as a comment, you need to start by using less than, dash, dash, excuse me, exclamation mark, dash, dash, and it completed it for me. So you need to put that within those, and it's going to turn it to green. That looks very tedious. To make it a lot easier, let me undo all of that. You can use a shortcut, or before getting to the shortcut, you can go into the edit option on your menu. If you click on edit, there is an option that helps you toggle the line comment. In this case, you're going to have a comment just on line 42. You can toggle one line or multiple lines. If you're toggling multiple lines, then it becomes a block. So let's focus on this one line, line 42. We're going to edit and toggle the line comment, and it automatically sets it up for you. So you can use that for debugging purposes when you're writing your code and so on. If you don't want to use the mouse and move all the way up here to select it, on the right-hand side, these are all shortcuts on your keyboard. Okay, so you need to use Control plus / to add a comment. So let's say I want to add another line of code. I can use Control on my keyboard and / and it automatically does that for me. Awesome. Now let's take a look at the next thing, which is the metadata. We already looked at the structure. Notice that this tab is open. We still have our website tab open, so you can have multiple tabs open at the top. Remember to close them as you move forward. So we have our Hello Africa in here. We have our structure on there as well. So let's take a look at what the structure actually looks like if we open it. So here is the structure file. I'm going to double tap on it, and it opens on the web browser. Okay, here was the first one for Hello Africa, my website. The next one, which says HTML structure, is right here. And you can notice that, let me hide this so it's wider. If you look at the head, the title actually matches the title we have right here. And if you go into the body section, the header has website name, which is shown right there. The headings that are all grouped together, we have the biggest and the smallest. And also in the main section, where we have a section, heading 2 says HTML contents, that matches that. And our article has a bunch of contents, which we'll look at later on. So that just gives you how you can view your content online on the web browser. Everything is local right now until we make this available to the public. Awesome. Let's expand this again and go back to the rest of the files. Metadata, what does it talk about? It helps you to give some key features or key facts about your page. For instance, we talked about DOCTYPE and HTML in the head section. The most important element is the title. But in addition to the title, we can have metadata. It tells us what character set we are using, that is the encoding. It tells us the compatibility, and so on and so forth. The viewport gives you the width of your device, so it's going to automatically adjust to the device width with an initial zoom of 1. It tells you who the author is. Maybe we should go in here and add our name so that anyone looking at the website knows you are the author. You add a brief description of your web page that shows up when you search on Google or any other search engine, so that you have an idea of what it is about. And the keywords are also very important for search engine optimization for it to be targeted. So the name of the metadata attribute and the content of that metadata attribute. That's about all we need to highlight for the metadata, which goes in the head section. Now, to view what this page looks like, it's very simple. The only thing we're going to see is the body section. We don't get to see all of this content in the metadata. So let's move back to the folder and open it. It opens up again in the browser, and there you go. It's very clean. We can go ahead and add more content. Maybe we want to add it in a paragraph. Type in P. It automatically tells you, hey, there's a paragraph in there. You can select it or press enter and add content in that paragraph. Nothing else to see here. Once that is updated and saved, you can refresh this and it tells you there's nothing else to see there. That's about it. Now, let's move on to the next, which has the content. This is quite enormous, so let's look at it in full. So we talked about the head. We're comfortable with this part. Within the head, you also have a style element. This is where you're going to use your internal CSS if you decide to go that route. And there's also a script element where you can use your internal JavaScript. We'll talk about those again when we get to that bridge. But notice that the comments in the style CSS, they have a different way of adding comments, just like JavaScript has a different way of adding comments. So do not get confused with those. There are 3 major technologies here, or 3 major tools that we use: HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. CSS has a different way of commenting out its code. JavaScript has a different way of commenting out its code, just like HTML has a different way of commenting out its code. Once again, we go into the head and try to say this is a comment. I'm going to use a shortcut on my keyboard, and now I should use the edit button so you can see clearly. Toggle comment line, there you go. So HTML comment is written this way. CSS comment, that's a multi-line comment. This is a single line comment. Okay, awesome. So let's dive into the body. I can go ahead and collapse the head so we can see just the body. And we don't really need that comment, we can delete it. So within the body, this does not have that search engine optimized code, which is sectioned into the header, the body, and the footer. So all our content is just within the body tag. As you can see, when I collapse it, there's nothing outside the body, and so on and so forth. The code doesn't really look intuitive. We're going to add an extension and make this look clean in a minute or so. So within the body, we have our H1, which is the biggest heading, tells us what the page is about. We also have links that we can add using the anchor tag. Within the anchor tag, we added attributes like the ID of the link, the class of the link, the hypertext reference of the link, where this link should point to. And within the tag, you have the content. That is what is actually going to be displayed on the link, rather than us having the link itself. So we actually edited it or substituted it with go to Google. At the end of the line, we close our anchor tag for the links and add a breakpoint. So we go to the next line and we insert an image. The image has an IMG tag. We added an ID, which is unique for that element, a class. You can have multiple elements in the same class, as you can see here. Every image should have a source. Right now, we don't have a source. We don't have the image because there is no images folder in here, and there's no html.png file. We can fix that in a minute. Alternatively, if the image doesn't show, this is the text that is going to be displayed. And we also have a bunch of other H2 files, or should I say H2 elements. We added classes for them as well, and so on and so forth. That is how you go about adding content to your HTML document. Other elements include the pre, which is for pre-formatted text. The text is going to show exactly like this. So if you compare this with text that is not within this tag, HTML is going to ignore all the white spaces and put everything together. Block quotes also help you to cite someone's content, or say someone is saying something. This automatically puts a tab in there, which I'll show you what it looks like. And this doesn't have a tag because it is outside the block quote. We have lists that we can use. For instance, this is a description list. This is a description term, which is DT, and the description itself. Okay, the definition of the description gets put in there as well. We'll also look at this shortly. Let me actually open that on the side so we can take a look at it. So opening this content, that is what it looks like. All right, so let's go back again to the top. We have our demo content right there, H1. The link that says go to Google. The image doesn't show up because I don't have that image yet. So alternatively, it shows me the alternate text image of HTML logo right there. And the H2 elements, 4 of them. Here is a pre-formatted text, which you can see right there. Let's move this a little bit. There you go. The pre-formatted text is in there as well. And the block quote is tabbed in, but the non-block quote just has regular position. Description list, we have a description term and a description definition, all of them in there. And we added another image. This time around, we added it as a figure and added a caption to the figure. Okay. We also have a bunch of links, external links, which take you to a website that is not on your domain name. So you start with HTTPS, the Hypertext Transfer Protocol. Give it a suitable name, it says CNN News. And for all the other files that we have within our code, we can go ahead and just type in the names of the files naturally. All right. So if it's within the page, all you need to do then is start with a hashtag if your link is pointing to some other part of your page and identify that particular ID. So we need to find an ID that says my image. If we scroll up, we can see my image is on line 25. So clicking on this link will take you to the HTML logo. If you want to go all the way to the top of the page, you can easily use hypertext reference, which says top, and it should take you to the top of that page. All right. This looks like they're side by side. Why is that? Because the link is an inline element. It is not a block element. It does not take the entire width of the page. If we want to go to the next line, I can add a break element, which is going to break that to the next line. This is currently saved. We can refresh this, and you'll see that this is going to jump down. There you go. Awesome. So that's a quick review of the code that we actually used on our demonstration. Finally, putting all of these together, we have our HTML demo, which gives you all the information all in one. Again, our head has a title. The base, we don't get to use it yet because we are not yet linked to the website. If you have a website with multiple pages, you can have a base that every page actually is derived from. So we commented that out. Metadata, we talked about that already. The link element, we did not get to use it yet because we don't want to look at style sheets yet. Once we get to CSS, we're going to be able to link our style sheet externally in that manner. Or we can link our style sheet, or we can use the CSS internally, just like JavaScript as well. So that's about it for the head. Let's collapse it. In the body, again, the body has the header, which will have a navigation. As you can see, clicking on the opening tag highlights the closing tag as well. Navigation will have things like the logo, slogan, menu links, and so on, which we've already talked about. So we can collapse that nav. Within that, you can also occasionally have a hero component. It's like a jumbotron rather. That big slideshow you usually have at the top of web pages. So you can include that also in your header section. Or you can also include a group of headings as well. Now let's collapse the header section. That's still within the body. The main section has our section, heading, and one or more titles. And you can see there are a bunch of elements that we talk about here. We started off with HTML basics, the structure, hierarchy, attributes, elements, and so on. Another thing we get to look at is table of elements, which we'll look at in the next demo. Now let's collapse the article, collapse the section, and get to collapse the main section as well. HR is a horizontal rule. It's like a line you draw across the page to move from one thing to the other. For instance, we're moving from the main to the footer. The footer includes your copyright information and related links, as you can see here. You can add an address maybe to help your customers or clients locate your office. You can also add the copyright information. You can add external links to your social media, or you can also add internal links to other pages that are related to this particular page. And that's about it. Now let's take a look at what that looks like. There we are, HTML demo. And this is what it looks like. Once again, the picture doesn't show up because we don't have it in there yet. We're going to fix that shortly. And this is what our basic web page looks like. Awesome. Okay, so we need to fix this image issue that we've been pushing behind all this time. So within our demo folder, actually, let me switch to use the Explorer we're familiar with. Within the demo folder, I need to add another folder, images. As you can see, let's point directly to the image itself. I can hide this and go back to content. So in that picture, or to actually have the picture, we need an images folder and the name of the image. Let me go ahead and just paste that in here. Right click and paste. So we do have that images folder that I copied over. Within it, you have a bunch of pictures. Now that we've pasted it in there, we can actually view it also in our Explorer. You can see the images folder, and that is our HTML image. If I go back now to my code and refresh it on the browser, you should be able to see that image. So right now there's no image, it says HTML logo. If I refresh it, the image actually pops up. Very simple as that. The same with the content. The content, we had image of HTML logo. That was because the image was not present. If we refresh it, it gets replaced with the image, and that's how you insert an image very easily. It's better for you to have the image residing locally on your folder or in your folder amongst your files, rather than pulling an image from the internet, because that image could break. They could change the name of the image, it could move the image, and it's going to take a while for you to pull that image to your website. So it's advisable to just use an image from your local folder. In case we need to add the image of a globe or the favorite icon, I can go ahead and add that also very quickly. Right here where we had our figure, so insert an image below that. I start with an img tag. Once I type img, it automatically gives me the elements. So clicking on it, all I need to do now is provide the source of that image. If I start typing img or im, it notices that I have a folder called images. Selecting that folder, it shows me all the files within that folder. Let's use the favorite icon. Alternatively, I can say logo. If it doesn't show up, I'm going to have the Vitus DK logo in there. So that's all good. If I go ahead now, you should be able to see it on here once I refresh my page. And there you go. Excellent. The external link comes in right after that because the image is an inline object. If I want this external link to go down, we need to add a breakpoint. So BR is going to break that. And once I refresh this, it looks better. Awesome. Now let's dive in to more interesting stuff, not just the black and white stuff. All right.